It is 9:30-ish on a Thursday night, and you're tuned into Beltway Radio and Beyond, which can mean one and only thing. This is ChipChat. Welcome to ChipChat, everybody. I'm Chip. Who are you, Tez?
You just told him, buddy.
Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday.
And last I checked, Caps are up 2-1.
So, good. I have not checked. There we go. That's good to hear. Get one here and head to
Carolina, man.
Yeah,
Down
they're
to
different.
Charlotte.
That first game, they came out of the gate just a lot stronger than our previous opponent, which makes sense because they are.
We forgot to shoot the puck in the first game.
Yeah,
it was a lot of like, oh, what do we do with this thing? But this game we learned. We're like, oh, the reason they won is because they shot at the goal. So we're like, we should try that, and then it's working.
Yeah,
so
there we go. Speaking of Caps, so I lucked up, and they made 100 of these special edition Stitch Fanatics and my good friend Ducky down at Major. They made these hoodies for Alex Ovechkin, and I was lucky enough to get one of these. And no, I didn't get any hookup on these. I went to where I knew none of my people would have checked, NHLshop.com.
Yeah, if you knew anybody there, you're really sitting pretty there.
Yeah, no, I did not know anybody. I lucked up and got one of the 8 XXLs they made. So
there you go.
Shout out to Ovi. Bands will make them dance.
I think hockey fans, there's a lot more XXLs than you think.
Yeah, well, yes, there's definitely a lot more of those, I would say, than smaller size. They only made 8 out of the 100 run, though.
Right. Yeah.
So, but they also best playoffs in sports, right?
Oh yeah. It's certainly like the highest energy, most exciting. It's like,
because what do you put in front of it? I don't know what you put in front of it.
Sometimes the NBA playoffs are very exciting, but they haven't been lately.
No, I think this last week has been more than the whole of the NBA. But yeah. I
think since the 3-pointer became the dominant type of scoring in basketball, the excitement level in the playoffs is very different. Like, it's a lot of, astronomical shots and like that kind of thing, but the sheer excitement of like the run and gun alley-oop or like working it down and jamming it in somebody's face, that's kind of washed out. So it's gone. That's not how the game is played anymore. So I think that's a little less exciting, but maybe I'm a product of my era. I don't know.
No, I would agree.
But anyway, this show is a special edition,
obviously,
because we have a new war starting
that like nobody's talking about between two. It's definitely not breaking through as the way it should break through.
It probably should be the top of the news.
Anyways.
And then we've got the current wars that are already ongoing, and we've got an old war, and then we've got whatever it is that RFK's worm is up to these days.
War on health.
Yeah, the war on health. The war on humanity, I think, is the best. Somebody said the other day, I heard somebody say, like, why would RFK want to cut access to Narcan? And I was like, oh, because he's trying to kill people. And they were like, well, they didn't have an answer for that. They didn't say like, no, we couldn't meet. I was like, yeah, no, this is going to kill people because it's unkilling people, and now they're not going to have it, and so now those people who are going to die. And they're like, that's awful. And they said, are you sure? And I was like, what other reason on God's green earth could it be? I mean, I didn't even know where
hard pressed to give you an answer. Don't know.
Yeah, I'm not even sure how he's like making money at it or something. There's no like backward ass conspiracy to this. It's just that he wants to kill off certain groups of people, I think. Of which he is one, I would add. So hooray. Okay. So yeah, also the smoke was white, not orange, which is good. So we have a new pope. He's a special kind of pope. Do you know what kind of pope he is? Tess?
No, I do not.
He's a deep dish pope.
Oh my God! Someone, yes, because he's from Chicago. In a meeting today, someone had put that in there. I said the deep dish. That's where they have the holy water.
Well, now, so the internet has decided that communion wafers are now going to be deep dish, and instead of the wine, it's going to be Malort, because
Oh my gosh, Chicago homicide is what I call that.
Yeah, it's awful.
One of my good buddies, he for his birthday one time, he runs a bar, and I was sitting at the bar, and he was telling people about. He said, "Yeah, people would ask what it is," and he was calling American Reposado, and I would sit there and watch people not pay any attention to how foolish that is, drink the Malort, and oh God, I just watched so many faces, and trust me, anytime I'm it's snuck, because usually I've never asked for it. People sneak that drink to me, and anytime I have it, immediately like Shook One starts playing in my head, and I just want to fight. It is the worst drink on earth.
Malort has an interesting lore in like curling circles.
For real?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay.
There's a big thing about curlers and Malort, and Chicago has a lot of curlers. It's a thing, and like sort of the upper Midwest in general. So, curlers love to shoot Malort and or challenge each other to shoot it, and I have experienced it thusly, and I hated it. It's not even one of these things where like I'm gonna lie and say that, oh no, it's not that bad. No, I hated it. It's awful.
The worst thing I've ever had.
Yeah, and like another big thing in curling that's an awful drink is Drambuie. If
I've heard of this name, I've never.
Yeah, it's a like licorice-y liqueur thing, herbal.
I heard of this from Kimberly Adams on Make Me Smart. Actually, she is the one the first time I've heard about this.
Yeah, right. Well, that makes sense because that's where you get all your information. But it's if you are curling on Sunday, meaning you're in the finals. If you're in the finals, everybody goes out on the ice, and the piper, it's a person with bagpipes, pipes you out onto the ice, and you all sort of march onto the ice, and then everybody's given a shot of Drambuie. And the organizer of the Bonspiel gives like a little speech, like, thank you to everybody for coming out and whatever. And then you all toast to the piper and have to shoot the Drambuie. And it is gross. And,
worse than Malort?
No, this is Drambuie. This not Malort.
It's worse than?
Oh, yeah. It's a similar kind of like herbally bad. Oh. Yeah. It's not. Malort's worse.
Okay.
For sure. I would drink several gallons of Drambuie before I had to drink any more Malort, but they're neither of them good.
This upset the whole beginning of the show talking about this.
That's fine. We have a new pope. His name is Leo, and he's Leo from Chicago. Like, who doesn't love Leo from Chicago?
Oh, the Magaverse.
Yeah, they're mad already. They didn't even know this guy, and they're mad because he's from Chicago and speaks Spanish. They're like, what the fuck is that? Why doesn't he speak American?
I didn't even do any research on this pope, and as soon as I was American, I was like, the Catholic Church has moved to the right, but maybe not.
No, he's
to the left. I see.
He's an Augustine, and he's apparently was like Frankie's best friend and like secret confidant or whatever. So. Maybe it's just like Frankie 2.0, I guess.
We'll see.
I don't know. That's the hope for a lot of people. I'm not like a Pope expert.
Me either. Don't get me started.
I had to look it up several times today. Apparently that seagull cannot become Pope, even though it was definitely mostly the thing that we were all watching was that one seagull that was just like hanging out by that chimney. He was the most famous bird in the world.
Yeah.
For a good while. I think maybe he's working with the Penguins to like strike back for the tariffs, but we don't know yet. I mean, I'm not saying, but it could be. Anyway, Trump said he's got a huge announcement, and then he made like a dumb announcement. So we don't know what the huge announcement is. So
maybe he's just senile, not maybe. And he was talking about the draft announcement, and he just forgot.
Maybe we have a list of things that we think it could be.
My poor mayor looking like a hostage during that situation.
Oh my God,
mayor, my poor mayor.
Well,
and I never say my poor. She's definitely not my poor mayor. Sorry, but yeah,
your unfortunate mayor. Let's say
mayor.
Yes.
Hey, keep going strong.
Poor Miss Bowser.
He seems to like you right now. I don't know. So let's ride this way.
Yeah, because the for the draft, but like they don't like each other in real life.
But this is but enough capitulation, right? I thought, look, it's home rule or Black Lives Matter Plaza,
Yeah. No,
sorry, Plaza. Gotta go.
Yeah,
sorry, get it out of here.
Maintain home rule.
Get that Plaza out of here right now. Sorry, progressives. We're gonna figure that out later.
Yes.
Sorry.
It is a dumb thing to have to give up, but if it saves home rule, it's worth it.
Yeah, sorry. I didn't make this happen. We just got to deal with it somehow. So
yeah. There's a time to make a stand, and that wasn't it.
It's not now.
All right. Speaking of which, Germany got their Scheisse together, which I learned you need to use that weird little SB. The
whatever that is, I don't know what that is called.
Esme, maybe, I don't know. But you need that weird little squiggle.
Kindergarten drawing a heart.
Yeah, that's how you spell that word. I didn't know. I spent like an hour and a half trying to get Google to tell me how to spell this word, and eventually it got close enough that it was like, "Do you mean this?" And I was like, "Sure." Then I had to copy and paste it because I don't know how to type. I don't know.
That's like you got to press and hold. Like that's like a Contra command to get that thing up.
Yeah. The Konami code just
exactly
to get a letter.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Germany finally got their Scheisse together, and this week we came up with yet another reason to avoid Newark.
Insane.
As if you needed one.
I was going to say I know someone who was enduring the time of that, like.
It's ongoing.
Enduring it. But last week, it might have been last week.
You have to go through Newark all the time, don't you?
Well, I know I've never go. And the only time
when you're on the train,
yes, it does. There are sometimes it'll stop in Newark. Most of the time, most of the time it stops in Newark. There's random times where I've missed it and ended up straight at Metro Park, but most of the time, because I always look at the Prudential Center, and I was like, what did they use that for? And I forgot that the Devils are still there.
That's right.
Yeah. I looked at what is this stadium used for anymore for their? I was like, I forgot you guys had a hockey team.
That's Josh Harris owns them.
Yeah, yes, he does. Yeah.
So we now have to be sort of okay with the Devils. I don't know. I'm not.
Okay. We're sort of okay with the Devils, huh?
I mean,
all right, baby, let's clip that one. Sort of okay with the Devils.
Well, for somebody who's not religious, but
me, right?
I mean, I don't like him, but Brodeur was amazing.
Yes,
you're never gonna see a goalie like that who can
They're not the Penguins, right?
No, yeah.
We'll get to that today too. Segue.
Yeah,
more Penguins we'll talk about. Yeah.
Welcome to Penguin Chat.
Yeah, right.
Look at these dead ass birds. All right. So anyway, now that we've totally derailed the first half of the show, do you have a word?
Do I have a word?
You gotta think harder.
Nah, I got a word.
Okay. I got a word. So sit back, grab some
chimneys.
It's Southside time. You're listening to the best show, the only show, ChipChat on Beltway Radio and beyond.
Sweet.
back to Chip Chat here on Beltway Radio and Beyond. I'm your host, Chip. With me is Tez.
What's Fabio?
Okay, so now before we do this next thing, hopefully we've got a video clip. I just want to set this up for a brief second. Last week we talked about Canada had an election and they elected Mark Carney or re-elected Mark Carney to stay. I guess they didn't elect him the first time. He was just appointed. But anyway, he is now, again, still the Prime Minister of Canada. And traditionally, the first foreign trip that a Canadian PM makes is to America, to the United States, because we are bestest of friends and we do everything together. And also traditionally, like the first trip that American presidents make is like, this same thing, right? Like we're very coordinated. But this time, no, because the United States has been threatening to take over Canada, or specifically Donald Trump has been threatening to take over Canada. Carney didn't want to meet with him first. So he went to Europe first, and he met with the Europeans. And so in like diplomatic world, this move is like your girlfriend fucking your brother. It is like the most.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that, right? I don't know how else to describe it.
It's kind of on point.
But Trump has no fucking clue how anything works, so he didn't even notice that like this thing happened. So instead, when Carney did come to visit him, they had this very stupid meeting in the Oval Office where Trump told Carney that he really liked him and that also Carney owed Trump for his victory because of how much everybody in Canada hated Trump. And then he was like, well, we're still going to take you over. And Carney was like, no, we're not for sale. And Trump was like, well, nope. I don't know about that. So in the middle of this, Trump like says this weird, dumb thing where he says, I've got a big announcement to make. And I don't know if Brian, if you've got the video, let's see if we can play the way he did this. Oh, nope. Sorry, don't have the video.
That's the best use of that ever. Oh, I'm sorry.
So he goes, yeah, I've got this big announcement and it's going to be really good. You're going to love it. And he says, and I'm going to announce it before I leave to go to the Middle East on Friday.
His favorite place to go is his first visit.
He always goes to Saudi,
which is obviously,
he has to go kiss the ring. So he goes, yeah, I'm going to have this announcement. It's going to be great. It's very positive. He kept saying positive. And he goes, and I'm going to make it before I leave on Monday or maybe Wednesday or maybe Thursday or maybe Saturday. I don't know. It's going to be great. And then he didn't do anything. So we were left with like, well, what is this announcement? Our crack reporting team has dug up various things that we're pretty sure are part of the announcement, including the first one, which Tez gets to read.
All right, the first one here, we're assuming one of the announcements is Jeannie Pirro will be the new U.S. attorney for the District of Columbia.
That's true.
That is god-awful true.
That was announced tonight. That's not the announcement he meant, but that's how fast the news is moving. That's true.
I should be happy because it's not a January 6th like denier,
Nazi sympathizer.
I guess I don't know. I'm trying to, but I'm assuming she also believes this, but maybe hasn't been as out front about this.
I think it's safe to say Jeanine Pirro also supports pardoning the January 6th attackers. And I think it's also safe to say that she is also a Nazi sympathizer.
Sorry for calling Janine Jeannie to all the genies out there and lumping you in with her.
Yeah. Also, shout out to Cecily Strong. Hurry up and get off of maternity leave because SNL needs you. As a matter of fact,
I love it. Here we go. We're rushing people off.
Hey, look, let's focus, okay? You can have kids any old time.
Oh.
Her version of Pirro is one of those things where, like, I don't know if I really know what Jeanine Pirro sounds like. I know what Cecily Strong being Jeanine Pirro sounds like. In the same way, I don't know what W sounds like. I just know what Will Ferrell doing W sounds like. So Anyway, okay, so that was the first one that turned out to be true. Okay, the next one we think that Trump is going to announce before he leaves on his big trip is he's going to come out as transgender. We don't know which gender he's transitioning to, but one of them,
something.
I heard he's transitioning from orange to lemon. Possible.
That's possible.
That is how citrus works.
That is how citrus works, right? Lemon is created, right? It's not a.
No, lemons are real.
I mean, yes.
Yeah, but you can graft citrus onto each other.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it not a sour orange?
It is not a sour orange. I don't know. I mean, he makes a face like he's a sour orange. All right, go ahead. Continue on.
As we were talking about birds, look at those dead-ass birds. Penguin trade war is ending.
Yes.
Because they're dead.
It's possible Trump capitulated.
Or they were like, dead.
Give us enough herring and we'll let you off the hook this time.
Hey, you can't really tax the penguins on the herring, right?
This is true also. The new Trump Bible with all of the Jesus lines have been replaced with the word Trump. And we do know this because after the announcement was made, Trump did offer to sell the new Pope a genuine Trump Bible for $59.99. Signed, even, yeah.
Oh, signed. Okay, that's why you can't lift it. It's signed. All right, there we go. Canada will be annexing the USA.
Surprise announcement.
Would be.
I would welcome that.
Just wait till we get back on our feet.
Yeah, like caretaker.
Yeah, that's actually going to end up being the Chinese, but more to come. Foreshadowing.
Don't say it out loud. All right. He's going to reveal what brand of eyeliner JD Vance uses. Maybe he's JD Vance. Maybe it's Maybelline.
Maybe that's really good.
No, that's not true. JD Vance, like any red-blooded American, just wipes his face with coal ash.
Right.
Coal.
He might admit that Tiffany Trump is his daughter.
Absolutely not. He would never admit to that.
No.
He also doesn't admit to Eric, but he keeps showing up. All right, let's see. He's going to come out as some percentage black. Let's say, for argument's sake, Ted. I've always felt a little black.
I felt black.
I'm just like you. I've been convicted.
I've always loved the blacks too. I've been one of them.
What percentage black does Trump need to turn out to be for the black community to accept him?
What percentage on there?
Yeah.
I mean, some people already accept him already, but obviously it's 3/5.
Ha! Damn.
Playing the hits, baby. Playing the hits.
Oh my God.
He's leaving the presidency to become Pope?
Yep. He was teasing that announcement. He did tease it with the AI.
I mean, what if they take over? He'd take over the Vatican. That doesn't seem too crazy.
Well, it's only like 6 buildings. I mean,
all right. He's
also the reaction of the MAGA Catholic faithful is like, which is a funny sentence. They're like, we need to split and get our own pope. They've had several popes before. We can do it again. And I'm like, oh, good Lord.
Like, what are we doing?
You people are so doctrinally distant from the thing that you say you believe. It's even hard to imagine.
Yeah, insane.
All right, it's going to turn out that Hillary was actually emailing him that whole time. That's what was in all those emails. They found them, and they were all between Trump and Hillary. Trump famously does not email, by the way.
No, but he does pick up his cell phone if anybody calls us.
Apparently, with anybody.
Yeah.
If you've got his number, you've got his attention. You can just call him, and he just picked it up.
It's just driving his staff insane. Oh my God! There's nothing you can do. Who's the boss talking to?
You think? Wait a minute. You think that's the thing that drives his staff insane among the 100 other things?
No, that's small fry, which he never has got. This is the one, obviously, and I'm pretty sure this is what's going to happen. He's going to announce that he did lose the 2020 election.
Correct. Yes. That would shock the world, and it would be very positive.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know why. It almost interesting not to pivot to that, to be like, I made the greatest comeback ever.
Yeah.
I ransacked democracy. My people ran into the citadel, and look where I'm back. I would just ride that at this point. It'd be like, yeah, you idiots. Look at you idiots. You picked me.
Didn't even Muhammad Ali lose his title and then had to win it back? That's the ultimate story.
It is always that. Yeah, that's what it is.
All right. Well, those are the announcements that we expect. If any of those do in fact come true, you'll hear about it first, of course, on this show. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to have the international edition of The Rundown and a bunch of other stuff. This one's a bit of a doozy, so you might want to stay tuned and dig a bunker.
I was going to say, oh, gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll be right back. You're listening to Chip Chat on Beltway Radio and beyond.
Boom.
Oh. Turn to the frogs, Gary. You keep interrupting me.
Miss like the stack at the free throw. Scoop my plate, never shot white. No, put a dog. Late to the Dos Mios, sipping more delos. I'm starving, I'm finna let my ribs show. The win loss of J. Paul, we face off from make you face God. Who that running they trap? Wait, built like that. Y'all in trouble, where? I ain't built like that. If he switches the minute, they gon' put me in a Guinness. I need the maximum digits. You get hit with a face palm. It's a new year, but I'm still fake calm. 4-5 always still like State Farm. When they can't read you like a book, they gon' try to attack what you stand on. I'ma take off even if I land wrong and take everything I can get my hands on. Run it up! Who that running ain't dead? Wait, built like that. Her ass niggas just swear I ain't built like that. Been in these switches a minute, they gon' put me in a Guinness. I need the maximum digits, just maybe look out. I hate when niggas be stressed about what you be doing more than they worry about their own shit. I hate when these bitches be begging your boy for some cash and then turn around and say eat the rich. They get mad when niggas do it for themselves cause their parents is still chipping in. Oh, you mad? Your bitch play follow the leader after you unfollowed your bitch. The underground know I go on. These niggas be scamming on GoFund. They say for my bitch said which one? My top 5 here for down.
Welcome back to Chip Chat here on Beltway Radio and beyond. I'm your host, Chip. With me is Tez.
What's popping out?
That was something.
What was that?
I don't know. Brian does things.
Yeah, he finds stuff.
All right. Now we've come to the part of the show called The Rundown. This is where we tell you about some stuff that's going on in the news. If we were professional newsmen, it would sound something like this. Nice. Yeah.
From Beltway Radio and beyond in Washington, D.C., I'm Emmy-nominated TV newsman and just bona fide sexual beast, J. Scott Smith. And this is the part of the show where I tell some stuff about well, maybe not me, but somebody else is going to tell some stuff about what's happening in the news. So what's going on in the news, fellas?
Thanks, Jake.
I was hoping for the nope so bad.
Nope. Okay, so Tez, you know about this place called Germany, right?
Yeah, there's an East and West, right?
Yeah, there used to be. I think they're knit back together somehow.
Yeah, sorry, I was back. Bring down that wall.
Yeah, that one. So before I get to the actual story here, I do want to read this one sentence in the middle of this article from the Washington Post that I think is one of the most incredible sentences you'll ever read if you know anything about anything. You ready?
I'm pretty sure I think I want to guess the one that you're going to read.
What do you think is the first word of the paragraph?
I'm going to give you the first word and the last word, and I'm going to put them together. Amid Ukraine.
That's exactly right.
All right, I thought so. Anyways, continue on.
Amid soaring global tensions with ties between Europe and the Trump administration fraying and Russia's war in Ukraine entering its fourth year, here's the craziest sentence you've ever heard. You ready?
Yep.
Germany's allies from Paris to Warsaw are looking to Berlin to anchor a reimagined European security strategy without the United States and to end the war in Ukraine.
So there you have it. And there's a lot of things where you say we are the post World War II agreement that we had, the world has had for the most part, and most of the allies have had. But I think there is one of the most definite statements that this is different.
The American century is very clearly over in that sentence right there.
Clearly, it's over with. Yeah, that just wraps it up right there. That is the one that will, for me, when I was looking at that, I was like, oh yeah, it's done.
What an incredible set of words to put together.
Imagine, I just who do I want to read that to in history past? Do you read that to FDR and he's like, what? Or Eisenhower? Yeah. There's a lot of shit. W.E.B. Du Bois, what do you mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, just go back to 1942 and read that sentence. It would break everybody you talk to, it would break their head.
Yeah.
For anybody who has forgotten or is maybe, I don't know, in the Trump administration, Germany invaded Poland and France. Yeah. And today, the 8th of May, is VE Day. Today is the day that Germany surrendered to the Allies, and we declared the end of the war in Europe, in which the United States defeated what Trump calls very fine people. So, confusing. But why are we talking about Germany? What just happened in Germany?
They finally, they finally were able to put together a government, right?
So Germany's a parliamentary system, not unlike Tez's beloved home of Britain, or Canada for that matter.
Yeah.
And so in a parliamentary system, the party that has the majority of seats in the lower house or in Commons or whatever you want to call it, forms a government, and their party leader becomes the prime minister, or in Germany's case, they call it the chancellor of that government. But sometimes, and now sort of more often than you would have hoped or used to be, there isn't a clear majority. There's one party with most of the votes, or almost enough votes to have a majority, and then they grab a few smaller parties to join their coalition to then put them over the top of the line.
Bibi is a good example of this, right?
Yeah, right.
In the worst way, but
he's sitting in a coalition government. Maloney's sitting in a coalition government in Italy.
Yep.
it's not like super uncommon, and it's, sometimes good, right? Because it means that the majority can't really steamroll things, that they have to check in with these smaller parties, and it gives the small parties a sincere opportunity to really help govern and shape the way that things go. So Germany has two big parties which have the same name. Basically, it's very difficult to tell them apart. There's the Christian Democratic Union, and then there's the Social Democrats. I'm not quite sure which one's a little bit right of center, which one's a little bit left of center, but they're very center. Right. And whenever there's election, one of the two of them is going to get most of the votes. And then usually the other one is then in the loyal opposition, and whatever other small parties there are glom on to whoever won, and they form a government. In this case, what happened was the two centrist parties won, but they got pretty close to the same amount of the vote, which was like 80 some odd percent, right? And then the AfD, which is the Nazis, actual Nazis. I'm not like hyperbolically saying that. I'm saying like when the Nazis were disbanded in Germany after the war, they formed a new party called the Alternative for Deutschland, AfD, and they have been that ever since. And so they got 20% of the vote. So 1 in 5 Germans.
That is new though, right? That isn't something that had happened like that amount, right?
That's exactly right. So generally the Germans had relegated anything associated with fascism and the Nazis to like the absolute fringe of society, because they were and are understandably quite traumatized by the fact that the Nazis fucked everything. Yeah. And they don't want to do that again. Like, it's in their constitution. Yeah. It's like Article 1, Line 1, don't be a Nazi. Like, that's their first thing.
We did that. We did that.
We tried that. Yeah. They were like, this is not a good look for us. We don't like being that. So, but AfD has 20% of the vote. So, like, the Social Democrats and Christian Democrats were like, we have to form a government together to fend these guys off. Right. And this isn't the first time they've done that. There's been a few other times where the two centrist parties have had to form what's essentially amounts to a unity government and govern that way. And it mostly works out fine because the differences between them are pretty minimal. And the Germans are notoriously into falling in line. And they, we're going to build nice little boxes and everybody follows the orders. Anyway, so they were going to do that, right? And they were like, yeah, we got this guy, Friedrich Merz. I think you have to say it like that, Merz, right? Yeah. Friedrich Merz. Yeah, look at him. He looks like a Friedrich.
Yeah.
So poor Freddie here, they were like, all right, you're going to be the chancellor. And he's like, all right, cool. And so before they even make him chancellor, he's like about to become chancellor. So they had like some votes to like handle in parliament, right? And one of them was to allow the German military to expand and spend money that they don't really have, to like actually take on debt to expand, which is unheard against everything in post-war German everythingness. They never like to hold any debt, right? Or owe anybody anything. They are like famously averse to debt. And they are, by their constitution, pacifists. They don't intervene. They have a military. It's a good military. It's a strong military, but it's small. It's volunteer. It is confined by their laws. Well, Merz shepherds through some big changes to that, which essentially allows the German government to spend an unlimited amount of money, whatever they deem necessary, to expand their military to do whatever they think needs to be done. And all of this is happening in the shadow of the fact that the Russians have invaded Ukraine and likely will invade the rest of Europe. So I don't think they're totally wrong for like thinking this way, but I gotta say, I personally, I'm not going to speak for all of the tribe here, but I don't feel great about an unlimitedly large German military. It just feels risky.
I mean, which rightfully so, right? They, have a lot of atrocities on their hands. I think where it should worry you is there is a need for them to make this change, right? Based on the deal that has been broken, right, with the United States of America, right? Or the America's broken that deal. But then you couple that with that 20% of the AFD, and there could become a time, depending on what happens, right? Because anything can happen.
You're going right down the path that I went down.
Yeah, that's the piece there. I think though the German citizens again. I feel like the reason this doesn't happen is the reason why things like that could happen here is because I think Germans, you do a better job of teaching their history. And I do wonder if by doing that and being as honest as they are about their history, if that always will keep the public to never become a larger amount of, again, I guess, AFD supporters. But I don't know, people the tribalism can happen really quickly and
they get bored.
But also too, I think Germany's open arms, right, of immigrant populations from Syria or like any pick your country you want to come.
That's fueling the rise of the AFD for
exactly.
Sure.
And yeah, it's and then even with that, it's kind of like kudos to Germany for doing that, because I think that comes under Merkel, right? That's her thing, right?
That was a Merkel thing.
That's a Merkel thing, but it's like where no one else in Europe stepped up to like specifically my place of birth, as well as other. I mean, maybe Macron and
the Germans. Yeah, Merkel beat everybody to the punch. She's like, we'll take 1 million people first, please, right now. And of course, the first 1 million out are all the best. So she got the best people, only the best people. Right. And the
rest of Europe should have shouldered more of that. There should have been more of
that
than
Europe's handling of the exodus of these mass migrations from the Middle East and North Africa has not gone very well, but it portends what we're going to deal with as the climate crisis increases. So
not going to stop that.
Yeah. But anyway, here's what happened. So Merz is riding high, right? He's like, yeah, I'm chancellor designate. I've got the votes, and I just shepherded this bill through, and like I'm ready to be the leader of Europe. So they go to do the formal vote, where everybody's got to vote to make him prime minister or chancellor in this case, and he falls short by 6 votes.
Yeah, and I didn't know this was a secret ballot until
it's a secret ballot, so we don't know.
Yeah, I did not know
who didn't do their job. Now, this was a crushing thing because this has never happened in post-war Germany. There's never been a chancellor designate who didn't get the votes on the first ballot. They did get it on the second ballot and got their shit together, or their Scheisse together, but
it's better than us in the speaker.
Yeah, it took It wasn't dumb Kevin in his 15 rounds. But yeah, so it's all like sort of settled now. And that's what we meant by they finally got their stuff together. But there's this other thing that they also right around this same time designated AFD an extremist organization, which allows them under their constitution to basically surveil the AFD and to preemptively take away their stuff, ban them from things, raid their finances and all of this. And the reason they have that in their constitution is because they don't want to become fucking Nazis again. So if you do Nazi shit in Germany, the government will come and take all your stuff and put you in a hole. And
but the one thing that even worries me about this is that if it flips one day,
that's the thing.
Yeah.
That's why a massively expanded German military.
Yeah. It's all cool until
Yeah, okay. I might trust Merz to not do anything stupid with that, But like, if Alice Weidel got in charge of it, what would she do with it?
Designate, right, them as a extremist, right, on a different end, right, and surveil.
Yeah, well, and then she would send me back to camp, and I'm not going back to camp. So, not great, but they did get their shit together.
No. Well, Donald Trump would put you on a plane and send you to the camp there.
Well, we're gonna get to that. So that's the like chaos in Germany. Let's shift one continent over to the middle of Asia.
Oh, what's happening there?
The subcontinent, South Asia, as a matter of fact. Okay. So we all know that, like,
Asia? What?
Yeah, there's a South Asia.
But there's stuff happening there? What happened?
There is. There's a little nucleus of conflict.
Ding.
Yeah. Going on there. Okay. So, Tez, your people did some colonizing at some point. And they went around the world drawing lines, lumping people together,
bringing back tea.
Yeah, stealing tea and spices that they then somehow forgot to put in any of their food.
Crazy.
And
salt is the only one they were like it's the only one.
Yeah. Right.
So weird.
You go all the way and conquer these people and steal all their spices to
not use them.
Very weird. So in their doing of that, they created two countries where there used to be not any, called India and Pakistan. And Pakistan doesn't even actually exist. There is no such thing as like a Pakistani person. Pakistan is in fact an acronym for three distinct regions: Baluchistan, the Punjab, and like whatever the A stands for. And they're mashed together into this country that basically exists because, well, they look like the rest of India, but they're Muslim. So we don't know what to do with them. We're going to call it Pakistan and stick them in a country. And yes, Roger, that sounds like a smashing idea. It's just sort of...
That's exactly it. Like that might be the history of how it went down.
Very Rhodesian British way of doing things. So India and Pakistan do not get along. Have never gotten along.
Never have gotten along.
They were specifically set up by the British with these lines to not ever really get along, because that would be too economically powerful for Britain to control. So they created a conflict, and they specifically center this conflict around this region in the Himalayas called Kashmir. And both India and Pakistan claim Kashmir. It is mostly populated by Muslim people.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these people want to be their own country called Kashmir. Some of these people want to be in Pakistan, and some of these people want to be in India. And they are not all conveniently on the sides of the lines where the thing that they want to be is in charge. Right. They're kind of all mixed up all over the place, and they seem to shift around a lot. I don't actually know, but it's a pretty tense place. And they have periodic outbreaks of violence where such and such group will attack some place, and both India and Pakistan will accuse the other one of basically putting that terrorist group up to it or not doing a good job managing it. If you're looking at this image here, this thing that you see on the right with both countries' flags, they have this incredibly elaborate exchange that takes place at these gates in various places every day, where the two opposing armies march at each other, and it is like a slow breakdance battle. And and every day it happens, and people come out to watch this. It's exciting, right? And we'll see what moves they've got today. And so the Indian guys will march around and do some dances or whatever, and then the Pakistani guys will come out and they'll do their dance, and then the crowd cheers, and the DJ awards the crown to whoever. So they're having a low-level war all the time. Back in the 70s, they had a big war, like thousands of people dead. But since then, it's been like in the few hundreds every now and then at the most, but mostly in the like tens of people getting killed. However, and I think I mapped this out to taking place in 1997. Sounds about right. Let me tell you a story. I was a freshman in high school. I was on the crew team, right? That's where you row on the boat. And we were in Pennsylvania for this very famous regatta, which is what they call a boat race, and called Stotesbury. And it's in Philadelphia or around there. And it was like, it's a big deal, right? And I'm a freshman. This is my first year at Stotes. And I'm super excited for this. And we're there in the hotel, and it's breakfast time. And we're down eating breakfast. And there's CNN on the TV. This is the 90s, right? So CNN is the only 24-hour news. So if you're in a hotel or an airport, it's what's on.
It's on. So it's on.
And
shout out Ted Turner.
Right. There were two leading stories on the news that day. One was that Frank Sinatra had died.
Yes, tracks. Okay.
Okay. Right. And the other story was that both India and Pakistan had declared themselves nuclear powers. And I remember this very clearly because the thing that I remember is saying to my friends, I think one of these two stories is more important than the other one. And I wish they would spend a little more time on that one. And they said,
obviously, old Blue Eyes.
Right. And they said, shut up, you're 15. And I said, okay, but I don't want to die in a mushroom cloud. So,
too late.
So since then, these two nuclear-armed countries have built up quite the stockpile of nuclear weapons. And they are all pointed almost exclusively at each other. So there is a very good reason not to kick off a big war between India and Pakistan. Like, as big a reason as it is to not kick off the big war between the United States and Russia or United States and China or any of the other like nuclear-tipped stuff. And so now we have a big war. Basically, some terrorists did something. Nobody's really sure exactly who they might be working for. Maybe themselves. It's not clear. But the Indians were like, oh yeah, Pakistan, you did that shit. And they bombed them. Bam. And they shot missiles into Pakistan, and they shot them deep into Pakistan, not just like at the border where they normally do, where they have like little skirmishes. No, they shot them all the way like over Karachi, up to Rawalpindi, which is where the army lives, and like a bunch of stuff that is like big deal into Lahore. Like they shot at the big cities, and Pakistanis were like, nah, man, that's not cool. So they claim they shot down several Indian aircraft. No word yet of like where the pilots of these aircraft were. They're French-made Rafales, maybe, not sure. It's not confirmed. A lot of it's a little murky, right? So then the Indians then shot some big missiles into Pakistan, and they're like, that's it. We're done shooting. Everybody needs to like go home. Lessons are learned all around, right? And the Pakistanis were like, we don't think that's how that works. Like,
no, you don't get the last lick.
Yeah, we don't like that. And
the quote was kind of crazy. I forgot what the quote was. It was like something. One of them was like, "Your temporary." I think it was Pakistan. It was like something around like your temporary like joys will end. I was listening to it on something. I was like, "Oh God, that sounds insane." But basically, like your temporary joy for whatever you think is going on is going to be endless hell going forward for you.
I would like to point out that the language of this conflict is kind of important.
Yeah.
The Pakistanis responded. Their defense minister came out and like gave a public response in English. not in Urdu, not in other languages.
Why?
He did it in English because he wants the rest of the world to be paying attention.
Exactly.
I would also like to say that for the most part, the vocabulary strength of the people making the announcements in this conflict is miles better than what we tend to see when American press conferences happen.
This is like these great orators and like literary studies that are like dropping. Yeah, it is that. Yeah.
Yeah, they love to use like metaphor and just like a little flourish in the language. Whereas American like military press conferences or political press conferences revolving around conflict are like, our planes struck the targets at this time. We did this, that, and the other. Whatever Pete Hegseth was texting, basically. Whereas the Pakistanis, here's an example. We are ready to pounce on the enemy's planes and throw them into the sea, said the Prime Minister.
Said the Prime Minister.
To their parliament. The enemy knows about our capabilities, he continued, appealing to the national unity. Like, it's I don't want to say beautiful because it's not. It's a war. But like,
but that's the difference though, because the idea is to rile up like national pride on here. I don't think our military does a great job of that, like to buy into it, right? Because also the whole I mean, I don't know the laws of Pakistan or India, but I'm sure you have to be just not a volunteer military.
Yeah, it's all conscripted. So
right, exactly. So you got to kind of draw here. You would almost wonder why it's not done. I guess it's done here in different ways with like the NFL and shit like that.
Yeah,
drive, but there's never like this. And also too, I gotta think about the audience too. So maybe you shouldn't go. If you start coming out talking like that for the audience of who you want in the United States military, then you're probably not going to get the actual people.
They're turning the generals, Gary. Yeah,
right. Oh, God. Right, exactly. I think it's always interested in this conflict as well too, because it's always going to be the Pakistanis will always be seen as like the terrorists, right? Because they are the Muslim country in this case here, and if you look at the biggest democracy, which is India, and I also because I think about Modi and his rule over where I don't even know where we're at, 6 years maybe with him, 7 years, no, probably
yeah, we're 6
years.
He got
reelected, yeah, so probably 6 years into him, like when they're beating Muslim residents of India in the street, like I can only imagine like in Pakistan when like something like this happens, your thought of what India is currently right now, it's never been good, but right now it's like you could point to a lot of things that the Modi regime has done and be very frustrated with your neighbor's treatment of a majority of people who, again, are your folks, right? That is a Muslim country. Yeah, so it's just very scary. Yeah,
there's certainly that aspect of it. Let's throw yet another like piece of conflict on this, is that we're talking about a part of India and a part of Pakistan that is historically like one place, right? Yeah. The Punjab area, which is this separation has never, there is no historical divide line here at all. And so had the English not drawn it, there isn't a conflict here at all, right? And let's add yet another wrinkle. Up in this part of northern India, we also encounter the Sikh population. And Modi has, as a Hindu nationalist, has been targeting them as somebody
assassinating people in other countries, right?
Yeah, killing Sikh activists in Canada and attempting to do that here in the United States even. They're not keen on either side in this fight, but they are a large population, so there's that aspect of it too. And like all of this is taking place within the confines of the they're nuclear armed. And
has China had any involvement yet? I mean,
a little bit. So China and India are not friends,
right?
They're rivals. China and Pakistan are pretty close. So the Chinese have done what they always do, which is say, we don't like conflict. Let's let cooler heads prevail and hope everybody can just work this out. But they never do anything to like help that.
No.
You wanted to add another twist to this?
No,
the drones that the Indians sent to Karachi and Lahore and that exploded at the airport, one of the old airports in Lahore, and killed some people. It's the only one that got through. The Pakistani air defense has shot down the rest of them. Where did they get those drones?
Iran?
No, but it is a country. It starts with an I, and it's somewhat near Iran. I think a little west of Iran.
Iraq?
Keep going.
Hold on. Keep going. Italy?
Not that far.
Okay, hold on. Give it to me.
Israel.
Oh.
So India is flying Israeli drones to destroy stuff in Pakistan. Globalism.
Right? This is what they told. This is why everybody's upset.
Maybe Alex Jones was right.
Maybe he's right.
What the globalists know. This is what global capitalism brings you.
Yo, the market is working.
That's why Powell didn't have to move the interest rates.
Right, exactly. The market is working.
Oh my God, that's maybe the scariest but most profound thing you've said in a while. I don't like what that means at all. I don't like that you thought of that. It's not good.
It's not good. Let's start there. It's not good. I made a joke earlier about that. I was teaching a workshop about like cybersecurity stuff, and I was like, these hackers get these tools. You might be like, well, why don't we just stop the tools from being out there? But I was like, free markets. You would think, you're like, all right, I got all these tools to do all this stuff. Why don't we just say, hey, when these tools hit the internet, we shut it down everywhere, you know?
Yeah, but certain people have an interest in keeping them available.
Exactly.
Sometimes some countries make those tools themselves. No such agency would do such a thing, but no such agency.
No such agency.
Anyway, okay, so that's International Edition. Do you want to take a break?
That's sad. Dude, this is not good.
No.
This is really not good. I don't know why. This is not a big enough story. Sorry.
Pending nuclear war should be a hotline story.
Or does this end? I mean, this is a lot. This is kind of crazier than it ever has been. I would say this is a little deeper than the normal skirmishes they have. But does it still end? Because everybody's like, look, you only want to advance climate change. Blow one of these damn things up real quick on here. Watch, it's going to be... Or no, that actually... Who knows? Maybe nuclear winter is what we need.
Yeah, it might cool things down for a little bit.
Cool things down after it burns everything up.
Yeah, and it could like shut down the economy of the world long enough to cause total carbon emissions to drop. So
it's like zero.
Yeah.
Pre-industrial.
Yeah.
Industrial. Maybe this is what happened. Maybe, maybe we've been looking at this wrong.
Fuck it. Nuke a hurricane. Let's see what happens.
Let's see what happens. Free markets.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to take a break and go visit the free market. You're listening to Chit Chat on Beltway Radio and beyond.
Sweeps.
First off, fuck Elon Musk, $8 too much, that's expensive. For the holes in the back and the crack in the slack, if I trick and delete and I meant it. I don't really need to check, cause I got no respect, and these niggas might know me like a dentist. City all about free speech, so we hear some shit and they get offended. This ain't what you want, no, this ain't what you want. Fuck y'all niggas, I feel like Papa John. Left straight to the face, I'm Tony Khan. And they hate what I say, cause I ain't wrong. You gotta remember this thing, comedy rap niggas, bitch, you know it. I'm gonna take my bitch, that pussy get bigger like this, she know it. You think it's been texting with kids, it doesn't get friends in the this, that's whole shit. Fuck you all, I don't fuck with you niggas like I'm not focused, wait. I am me, red eyes with a shadow repeat. While you stretching and treating your tweets, I've been stretching your girl, iron sheet. What's the deets? In the crib, it's all like a week. Watch your energy, watch what you tweet. You can go from Eli to Yale to weed. process with that hand like that. Blacked out, can't take no more. So ain't no way but thing is slow. Ain't the ass but sing about behind the scenes when that room flow. Smoking up, don't be no hoe. So let me tell you about we gon' go. Do a place more back won't leave. Got a lot hit to say the key. In your head, girl, around breathe. She can stop thinking about me. So travel up like a pin up chain. Go ahead, girl, do your thing. So what's up with that? What's up? Spitting fast like bust up. If I need that trust up. Feel like I love ya.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay. Do you understand that? Turn the friggin' frogs gay. Serious crap. Gay. Frogs, friggin' frogs. It's not funny. I'm gonna say it real slow for you. Gay. Frogs. Won't you fight for your life? Gay. Frogs, friggin' frogs. I don't like a frog. Gay. Friggin' frogs. Frogs. Friggin' frog crap. Won't you fight the frogs? It's not funny. I'm gonna say it real slow for you. Frogs.
That's what always gets me on that one. I don't know why.
Is when he says it's not funny.
It's not funny.
Categorically false. It is very funny. And for any of you disgusted at just watching this and us laughing at it, please go donate to the sandyhookpromise.org. I'm saying that anytime we play that on there, just
or go to Every Town for America and
Every
donate
Town
there.
for Rest, yes. Oh God.
Oh my God. Frog crap.
Will you fight the frogs?
Oh man.
That is, oh my God. What?
It's so good. All right. Speaking of fighting the frogs, let's talk about Trump's immigration nonsense. So
nonsense. I mean, God gracious, Tuesday in DC was very scary for a lot of people. I don't know.
Yeah.
That was
all of DuPont Circle got raided.
Yeah, a lot of my buddies in the service industry, they're like, yeah, our people just didn't come to work. So, but yeah, this is nonsense, though.
There were actually a couple stories I heard about the owners of the establishments not letting ICE in, essentially. Like the ICE guys showed up and they were like, hey, we want to talk to your people. And they're like, you got a warrant? And they were like, we don't need a warrant. They push them in. And the shop owners like pushed them out and barricaded the door and they're like, fuck off. So come back when you got a warrant. If you're so like legit in what you're doing, man, I'm sure a judge would love to sign off on that shit for you. But,
which worries me for the shop owners that if they don't end up getting treated like the judge.
I am very certain that at a point in the not too distant future, these raids are going to end. One of them is going to end in the death of some of these agents.
Oh, I've been saying that as well too, because I just don't understand why, like, as armed as many people are in this country, right? Like, especially they're in plain clothes, unmarked. Like, someone is not gonna know your ICE.
Exactly.
Specifically in Florida, I've wondered. I feel like that's where this happens first.
I think it's right, or Florida or Texas. I mean,
Texas, those are the two. Yeah,
populations that are heavily armed, and these guys are moving, as you mentioned, totally in plain clothes. There's no identification. In some cases, they're not identifying themselves at all, and it looks like a kidnapping or a mugging or something like that.
Yeah.
And then there's the other aspect of like somebody's going to see this happening and say this is bullshit and shoot at them.
Yeah,
it's just gonna happen. Like if you've already got nothing to lose, I'm just saying, you know, people are they're shooting them with their cameras right now, but there's gonna be a point where somebody's gonna be like, and
Just being a stand your ground law state. That's all I need.
Yeah, but that's still not going to matter. You know what's going to happen.
I know it's going to happen. But I mean, you should. I mean, hey, what do you mean? The person stood their ground. They didn't know.
Yeah, I thought we believed in the Second Amendment in this country. So anyway, here's some bullshit. So one of the things that the Trump people are like depending on for their very faulty legal rationale, which we're going to get to in a minute, is that they keep mentioning that this Venezuelan gang, which is called Tren de Aragua, is some sort of international military invasion of the United States. So I'm just going to read this right here. The U.S. intelligence community says it does not believe that Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro directs Tren de Aragua, a criminal gang that operates in the U.S. In a newly declassified redacted memo, the memo contradicts claims by Trump, who has accused Maduro of controlling the gang, which Trump says is invading the U.S., and the government has relied on this argument to justify the deportations of alleged gang members under the Alien Enemies Act. Now, we should also point out, as 60 Minutes did, 75% of the people that they claimed were gang members and deported so far to El Salvador had no criminal record whatsoever in this country or others. So they're not actually using this as a justification. They're just saying that. What they're doing is looking at people who look brown, throwing them on an airplane and dropping them off in another country full of people who they think look brown.
Because the whole basis is obviously a lie, because they were never, let's just say there were the actual gang members here. All right, maybe cool. Then you could maybe run with this, but they have not been able to find any of them.
Yeah, they can't find any of them.
So then they're like, oh, we got to save face. Pick up whoever, get whoever you want. Because, yeah, it's clearly that and you do wonder at this point, like, was that the whole plan, obviously, from the beginning? But even if it was not, right, you're not finding gang members, so you have to supplement them with kids who have cancer, I guess.
Yeah. So there are, and from a different country, too. It is like racist on its face, but it's very shockingly racist that the Trump immigration system thinks that people from Honduras are the same as people from Venezuela, which these countries are separated by 1,000 miles. And several other countries in between them. Like, this doesn't make any sense, any more so than saying that, people from Spain are the same as people from Lithuania. Like, right. Okay, they're from the same continent? Like, is that your reason here? Now, most of the time, when you have a criminal organization in a country, they're not usually working for the government or with the government in that country or another country for that matter. They're criminals and they're doing their own sort of enterprise. But there are instances, of course, where like the central government maybe kind of lets it happen, because they're not like able to stop the crime or because they're somewhat complicit in it in terms of like the economic benefits or whatever. You can think of countless examples of this, like in Colombia, for example, where the government didn't really want to stop the drug cartels that were operating because that was like their only source of revenue or income, and it was sort of working in conjunction with the coffee. You can pick your country here, right? The grift. Right. Like, let's say you have a country, right, that's operating nominally as a democracy, but they have some sort of criminal element that is somewhat aligned ideologically or economically with the government that is doing something like forcing other countries to buy their satellite internet or like getting subsidies from that government to then build their particular electric vehicles at the expense of others, or like just stealing contracts from like the government, just giving them contracts like for kind of nothing, but just as a way to like pass public money into the pockets of these people because, they're economically aligned. What would you, I'm blanking on the country, but there's a lot of them like that.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder, it comes to mind and people might scoff at this one, but I find Afghanistan and opioids, to be honest, and the poppies on there during the time like of our occupation of that, because it doesn't feel like that was shut down. It doesn't like that seemed to still be happening. And I also was in conjunction with the largest opioid crisis at the time. And I'm just saying, I don't know of any nominal democracies that are trying to like line the pockets of their friends from South Africa, but I'm just saying that like it could happen. Yeah.
Hypothetically. So anyway, this April 7th memo that was obtained by a Freedom of the Press Foundation says that they're like, nah, TDA is not working for the Venezuelan government. And so like their own
Press Foundation
intelligence
that won't be around long.
Say it again?
As the Freedom of the Press Foundation, that won't be around long.
No, they're those guys are all in jail.
Last story ain't breaking.
It's like one move chess, right? You get to make your one good move, and then you all go to jail. The memo also undercuts some of the government's claim that about the power and reach of the group. It says TDA is decentralized and notes that it is highly unlikely that the TDA coordinates large volumes of human trafficking or migrant smuggling. One of the things that we have learned historically about Central American gangs, in particular MS-13 and Barrio 18, is that like the oldest members of these groups is like 25 years old. That basically they age out, right? They're in this while they need to be, and then they get jobs or they have a kid and they leave. And they're just
usually leaving their country to get out of the situation itself. Then that's usually what happens when they make it here.
Yes, they make it here and become drywall experts or whatever, and plumbers or sheet metal apprentices.
They pay taxes. That's what they do.
And they buy a lot of fuel, and they buy a lot of food, and they pay rent, and they do all of the things that keep the economy humming along.
The old economy. Yeah.
Not anymore. So that undercuts their stuff. Now here's why that kind of matters, right?
Yes, the follow story is it.
Yeah, the next story. A federal judge in New York ruled Tuesday that the Alien Enemies Act, quote, was not validly invoked. No shit.
Oh yeah, because Congress declared war, right?
Right. U.S. District Judge Alvin Hellerstein on Tuesday granted a preliminary injunction in the case of two plaintiffs identified by their initials, GFF and JGO, who were pulled off of planes to El Salvador and transferred back to New York from Texas, where they had been detained on suspicion of alignment with Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua. If they're Salvador, never mind. Okay. Tuesday's ruling comes after a Trump-appointed federal judge in Texas last week permanently blocked the Trump administration from detaining, transferring, or removing Venezuelans targeted for deportation under the Alien Enemies Act in the Southern District of Texas, which is basically the whole border, right? Ruling that the administration's invocation of the Alien Enemies Act, quote, exceeds the scope of the law.
You don't
You
don't say.
It was set up in the 18th century to deport alleged or people with like no due process when we're at war, which we're not at all, because Congress hasn't declared war, because the Constitution, that thing that Trump doesn't know if he's supposed to uphold or not, says only Congress can declare a war.
Such a dumb question by that's an ABC question. I think it's, this is why it's such an asinine question. They go up on not even a Trump Bible, regular Bible, and they swear an oath to the Constitution. And I don't think there was a follow-up of that either.
To give Welker like a little bit of cover here, Trump was going to say, I don't know, to anything she asked him, because he was trying to get back to saying what he wanted.
He wanted, of course, he wants to control, but it's like, sir, did you not pledge an oath to the Constitution?
There's no holding him to it. You saw what happened when Terry Moran was like, are you sure you want to stick to this thing about the tattoo on the knuckles? the long version of that clip is like almost
Insane.
2 minutes long, and it is excruciating to watch Trump continue to believe this thing that is very obviously not the case, and he can't be shaken off of it. And Moran tries everything he can to move the conversation along and just let it go, and Trump won't let it go. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like, I almost basically stopped interviewing him. I don't think anybody can put him on television.
That's really, I think that is. But then it's like, he not be platforming the United States president. I mean,
no,
I'm with
don't,
you.
Because he's not operating as such in good faith. He's not. No. This is a dangerous person. Every minute you let him on television, you're putting the country at risk. I absolutely agree with Celeste Headley that, like, we should not be platforming this at all. So this kind of comes on the heels of the Supreme Court decision, which said 5-4 that everybody who gets hauled in for deportation can challenge that. And the way that the administration initially was like, okay, fine, we'll inform them that they can challenge it. It was like with a phone call in English, and they had 12 hours or something. And there have been rulings since then that say, no, you need to give them written notice in a language they understand, and they got to have 21 days and like a lot of stuff.
Basic things.
Yeah, and the Trump people have responded to this by basically saying, well, the judges are illegitimate, and calling to impeach them rather than saying, okay, we'll just follow these rules. Trump said in that same interview, he was like, when you have courts and due process getting in the way, that's not what I want to do.
Slows everything down.
And that's when it slows everything down. And that's when Walker's like, but it's in the Constitution. And he's like, yeah, fuck that thing. All right. So that was like another loss for him, right? Is that you can't use this thing because of all of the rules. Then earlier this week, there was like a chatter story, not even a real story, that the Trump administration was talking about deporting migrants to Libya. You know, the safest place on earth. And not even like Rwanda, where they're going to pay them to take them.
Right.
They're like, you know, where's just some ungoverned space that we can drop people out of airplanes? So they're like, yeah, we're going to just drop them in Libya. And they're going to drop like Cambodians in Libya. Like,
what is like
you want to know how you know Trump is stuck in the like late 70s, early 80s, that the countries he can think of and the way he can focus is on things like Libya and Cambodia. Okay, guy. So this story like comes out and you're like, what are they talking about Libya for? Like,
I was very confused.
Libya it's not a country right now. Like, since Gaddafi was killed in the streets on video, and the closest approximation of a reenactment of Les Mis in real life as you could imagine, which incidentally Trump is watching Les Mis at the Kennedy Center tonight.
Yes, he is. This is
irony of ironies.
First time there.
Yeah, right. There's kind of two governments in Libya, one that's recognized by half of the world, one that's recognized by another. They have this tenuous deal where one's got the oil and pays the other one not to attack it, essentially. But it's not a place you can send anybody to. So that they were talking about this at all is nuts. So then a federal judge warned the Trump administration Wednesday that it cannot deport immigrants to Libya, Saudi Arabia, and any other country where they are not citizens without due process, saying that such a move would violate standing court orders intended to shield people from being expelled. So, like, the court said you can't send these people to these places, and the Trump people were like, well, what about these other places? And like,
no places.
No places. I can't believe I have to clarify that to you. It says you can't deport anybody without due process, you fucking moron.
Which is I think it's the right. Judges are still operating on like a normal, like they can write these, I guess, opinions in a sense, or rule and say, hey, well, I'm not gonna I don't have to lay the whole thing out because I've never had to. There are certain words that just mean stop.
Right.
The Trump administration is like, no. If you don't put STOP in a Sharpie in the document, then it doesn't mean that to us. And we will then continue and force you to come back and write out something that might have only been verbal or pick whatever. Like they keep doing it. It's a unique strategy that
it's sort of like if your mom says like, stop hitting your little brother. And so then you start kicking him. And she goes, didn't I just tell you not to do that? And you go, I'm not hitting him. I'm kicking him.
That's exactly it.
So U.S. District Judge Brian E. Murphy in Boston. I like that Brian Murphy of Boston is the judge. I can only imagine what this sounded like in his courtroom. Writing in a swift, stern response to an emergency request from lawyers for a number of immigrants, said that he had already barred the Department of Homeland Security from deporting people to a third country without having given them a chance to challenge the removal and seek protection in the United States. And the Trump people were like, DHS isn't deporting them. We gave them to the military, and the military is the one who's flying the plane. So you didn't say they couldn't do it.
It's crazy.
And the judge was like, are you out of your fucking mind? Right. And he's in Boston. So he's like, are you out of your fucking mind? Like, imagine a judge that sounds like Bill Burr. That's kind of how I'm picturing this. So let's see. If there's any doubt, the court sees none. The alleged imminent removals, as reported by news agencies and as the plaintiffs seek to corroborate with class member accounts and public information, would clearly violate the court's order, he wrote. Hey, guy, right? So then...
This pinhead.
Fucking Stephen Miller.
Oh, diabolical.
Jesus, tap dancing Christ, this guy.
Yeah, he's diabolical. Yeah.
He derided the judge's ruling, quote, another judge puts himself in charge of the Pentagon, he wrote. This is a judicial coup.
It's so disingenuous because it's not in charge of the Pentagon. It's the executive branch, and it's being checked by the judicial branch because the other branch has went to bed. Right. But yeah, no, it's literally how this is set up to work, and it's surprising it's still working. To be honest, like
I think we're maybe a few weeks away from some of these flights just happening, and the judge is futilely saying, we told you not to do that. And the Trump administration saying, and what are you going to do about it now?
I think this gets pushed, and I think, oddly enough, Donald Trump pushes back against that. We'll see how long it is, how long he does that. But I think his wanting to be like, he talks about the disrespect for his judges, right? A lot of these are his judges.
A lot of these are judges he appointed. Yeah.
Yeah. And I wonder if that undercuts or undermines things for him. And like, don't get me started trying to like psychoanalyze this man.
I don't know. He appointed Jay Powell,
So I mean, but I just wonder, like, because there's one man who will continue to push this, and you just gave a quote from him. He will ask for that, right? But I wonder though, if the rest of the folks in there, I wonder if like the chief of staff, I wonder if they're like, you know what, we got to figure out another way versus totally just going over the court. Well, why haven't they done it yet? I mean, they have done it, but I'm talking about just continuously like this here. Why don't they just still send them to Libya?
I think they have figured out a way to do this, which is essentially to leak it. If Trump is trying to do like a deportation flight that's patently illegal, right? They could do it under pretty tight secrecy, and as long as there's no signal chat telling everybody what's going on, they could probably get away with it, at least in small enough numbers, And I know Trump likes the bigger numbers.
That's what I'm saying. His whole thing is that he needs this to, like, from what? How many? It's supposed to be 1 million gone already.
Yeah, but like, let's say a C-17 takes off from some random airbase and starts flying someplace, and the airplane nerds might notice it and track it on flight radar and like say something about it, but hardly anybody else would notice. And it could just do it. But if you are somebody within the chain of command or like that would know about this and doesn't want to fully disobey a court order, the thing you would do is tell somebody this is happening so that they can make noise and get it in front of a judge and like get them to do something like this and have it be on the front page of the paper. And that is the only mechanical check on this at the moment, I think. But there again,
the planes don't go up in the air, or there are no traffic controllers.
There's no air traffic controllers, so they don't know. Yeah, they can't take off.
And that's called.
Speaking of which, breaking news.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the Capitals have tied the series up 3-1.
All right, so this is the shirt.
It's 1-3-1. You tied the series 1-1.
Yes,
it's been a long day for me.
1-1. So that's the answer. Then this is the right shirt. I wore one of my other shirts Monday. That was a mistake, or Tuesday, whatever day it was. So this is the one, and I guess I can't wash it either.
Maybe.
Also, like earlier this week, my wife was like, we're really doing the playoff beer? And I was like, oh, yeah, we're doing that. And she was like, no. She gave me the look of like a sad Rangers fan who isn't in the playoffs. And I was like, well, that's your problem. So, okay. Speaking of that part of the world.
And airplanes.
We're doing a maximum thing here.
Yeah.
This segment is called Airplane News. Now, I don't know how any longtime listeners don't know this about me, but I love airplanes, like irrationally. And I pay a lot of attention to them. Every single time I hear a plane going over my head, I look up and I identify it and I think about them all the time.
The feat of man to propel thyself in the air in a tube. It's insane.
It is a truly remarkable thing.
Yeah, and every time I get on one, I'm like, this is crazy.
It is. And that it works is crazy. And that we've only been doing it now for like about 120 years.
Yeah, 120 years. Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, so airplanes are cool, right? I'm really into them. And that means that tangentially, I have to like know more than the average person about how airports and the air traffic control system works, because I like to pay attention to that kind of thing. I'm not an expert exactly, but I would definitely say that if we're playing bar trivia and airport codes comes up, I'm your guy. I know a lot of them. And runway numbers. Another thing I care a lot about, because I do. Okay, so here's what you need to know, the background for this story to make sense. The United States is far behind most of the rest of the world, including a lot of third world countries, in the way that we do air traffic control. And part of that has to do with that we kind of invented it, right? So we have these systems that were built on top of other systems, that are these legacy systems. The most recent major upgrades to this whole network took place in the 90s, like the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. And so we're dealing with a level of technology that is basically that vintage. There's two main problems with this. One is unreliable old school copper wiring, which you can think of as like phones, right? Essentially modems and phone technology. And the other problem is that the way that we track the airplanes and have them communicate with each other is ground-based, meaning even though we have GPS and satellites that could allow like communication directly from plane to plane or from plane to tower or plane to controller, we don't do it that way. Right. We still have ground-based radar that is tracking all of these planes and their transponders, that is relaying information down to the ground and then back up, and down to the ground and back up. And it's slow and it's clumsy and it can get like jumbled up in various ways. Since the early 2000s, the Congress has mandated that the FAA and the system transition over to a GPS-based tracking and communication system, which would allow these planes to fly much more close together because it'd be safe to know where they are. They wouldn't need a big cushion. Yeah. And it would make things much more efficient because instead of having to fly in these designated kind of highways in the sky, you ever look up and see all the contrails in one place? That's because that's the lane that they got to stay in. They could fly, planes could fly more direct, and it would make things a lot more efficient, save a lot of fuel, save a lot of money, and make things miles safer. Right. While Congress has ordered this to happen, they haven't funded it, like ever.
How does that work?
Well, because it's Congress.
Right.
And
how does that work?
Over the course of this, when they do fund it, you need to know that when government agencies go to do large capital stuff, like big upgrades, they need a specific budget for it. And if the government keeps shutting down or using continuing resolutions, they never get the money or the authorization for those big capital improvements. They just have enough to keep going with what they've got. Okay, so that's to set the scene. So you've got 30 years of unfunded mandate and inconsistent funding mechanisms by Congress.
And more planes and more routes.
More planes, more routes. Yeah, because another thing Congress does is approve flights in and out of airports, and they keep doing it more. Okay, fast forward to now, right? Thousands of flights in or out of Newark have been delayed. It's funny that wrong clip, Brian. That's a different plane. Yeah, there you go. In the story, it says derailed, which I think is funny. With 94 cancellations and 120 or 112 delays after 9 a.m. Tuesday, and more than 2,800 delays in the past 7 days, according to FlightAware, which is a website that tracks this stuff. FAA put yet another ground delay program in place Tuesday and said planes departing to Newark are being held up as an average of 2 hours and 41 minutes. Because Newark is a huge airport and a big hub for a lot of things, specifically for United, formerly Continental, if it's down, it kind of fucks up a lot of stuff for a lot of places. And the reason it went down is because at several points in the last couple of weeks, their communications quit on them for like 60 to 90 seconds at a time. On April 28th, the Newark team temporarily lost radar and comms with aircraft under their control, leaving them, quote, unable to see, hear, or talk to them.
Frightening.
Said one of the officials. Computer screens went dark for 60 to 90 seconds, making it impossible for controllers to talk to aircraft during that time, ABC News reported. The FAA said in a statement Monday that some controllers were taking time off after going through, quote, multiple recent outages without providing details. The FAA has these rules that say that if a if a controller experiences like a traumatic event, they can take a few days off to get their shit together.
Yeah, because you need your mind right when you're controlling these buses in the sky.
Right, exactly. So especially if it's something like this that rattles you, you need a break. And the result of that is this already short staff was even shorter. And when there's a limit to people in the towers, there's a limit to how many planes can come through at a period of time by rule and by just like physical capability. So they had to stop and they had to delay and they had to. It's bad. It's really bad. And this is Trump's FAA. This is his responsibility to fix. It's the real world Sean Duffy's road rules. Sorry, his responsibility to fix.
Sean Duffy is the greatest name. It should be fake.
It should be fake. Well, we've already had a Brian Murphy. Now we've got a Sean Duffy. We need like a Jameson McGillicuddy.
This Sean P. Duffy is like, I feel like what Sean Combs would be like trying to hide from people.
It's his alias.
It's his alias, but it's still really him. It's like if he wasn't doing
like, are you P. Diddy? No, I'm Sean Duffy.
Sean Duffy. What? But that sounds.
I don't know. You look a lot like P. Diddy. No, I'm Sean Duffy.
Crazy.
Yeah, Sean Duffy and P. Diddy look a lot alike too. So I could see people getting confused. He mentions here that the system is 25 to 30 years old and we still use floppy disks, which I think is.
Hey, don't tell me that. Hey, don't tell me that, friend. You know what? Keep that to the chest. All right. You don't tell me that. When I'm flying on these planes, you don't tell me that the systems are using bloody floppy disk. Okay, I just don't want to know. It always has me wondering too. Sometimes it's like you're on the plane and like, how much stuff do they actually like not tell you?
I was
gonna say like things like the computer goes down for a night. How many people on the planes, though, certain aircrafts are in the sky, knew that the computer, like, oh, we're not landing in Newark right away. It might be an hour delay. We're just working on some things.
It's hard to know, I think, as a passenger.
Right.
I mean, you can tell when you get sent around.
Yes.
Especially if it's an approach and an airport you fly in and out of a lot.
Right.
But sometimes they do this thing where they kind of like make you turn wide. They don't really send you around, but there's like a standard approach and then there's like a delayed approach, which will give a little more time between incoming aircraft so that stuff that's on the ground can get up and get off the tarmac. And sometimes they'll do it to like avoid certain chunks of airspace when there's, say, like helicopters flying through or some other traffic that they're trying to route around. So you might not notice that as a passenger, and probably only the pilot and crew know. So
you're tuned in to Chip Wings, where we tell you everything that's going on with planes.
Yeah. This is very boring. We're very sorry. So anyway, Trump's got to fix it, and he doesn't know shit about any of this, and Duffy doesn't know shit about it, and I can't believe I'm about to say this, but to be fair to them, this isn't really their problem.
No.
This is Congress's problem.
Yeah,
Congress created this problem.
I'm sure they'll fix it.
I'm sure Mike Johnson will fix it. Yeah,
it's going to be in the one big, beautiful bill.
Right.
That might be raising taxes on the rich.
Yeah. Did you see that photo of them next to that headline? Like, Johnson looks so dejected to be there.
I'm going for the signing if that happens. You get what you vote for. I just hope. I would be insane if that ends up happening.
It won't.
Well, we'll see. I don't know. Seems to be popular. He likes to be popular. He's already rich.
Yeah, that's true. Right. I mean,
that would be.
Yeah, but the argument there, which is the argument that we, the decent people of America, have been making forever, is you can tax the shit out of these rich people, and they're still gonna be rich.
Exactly.
And you can close the budget gap, and these people wouldn't actually feel it at all.
I'm wondering, and it would just be, I would love, because he had all the nice CEOs up on the stage with him. I would just love, it would be pure comedy if he was like, you know what? I think, it's time for us to pay a little more, to do more. We need to do more.
I know Zuckerberg came and licked my boots. Now I'm going to tax him.
You know what? And then I know what's actually going to happen. They won't miss this time. If you do that, I guarantee you that. They won't miss this time. No, man,
Okay, now before we get thrown in the gulag, let's talk about the Navy. Okay, so the Navy has airplanes too. And some of them fly off of boats. They don't call them boats; they call them ships, and they're not just ships; they're called aircraft carriers, right?
And insane that they're able to do that too. That it's insane. Another insane feat of man.
The very first aircraft carrier was in the Potomac River, and it was a project by the Smithsonian sponsored, and a guy called Langley. And the idea was this: they were trying to beat the Wrights into the air, and they figured the only safe way to launch a powered airplane was with a catapult. And the only safe way to do that is to do it over water. And so they set it out in the Potomac and launched it.
Let it rip.
Yeah, sort of right near where the Kennedy Center is now. It did not work, but they tried, and hooray!
That's what we're doing now.
Right. Okay, so the Navy has aircraft carriers, and there's a particular aircraft carrier which is called the Harry S. Truman, which is famous because the buck stops right in front of it. So it's an aircraft carrier from Missouri, where the ocean is. It's a big aircraft carrier. It's a very modern aircraft carrier, and it's out there in the Middle East, and it's specifically in the Red Sea right now. It's been on a very long deployment. It keeps getting extended, and it's part of the task force that has been helping to try to shoot at the Houthis or protect ships from the Houthis, which this week Trump decided we're just not going to do anymore or something.
That's what
Which made me think maybe the deal was we were sending migrants to Yemen now or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a deal been made. Big, beautiful deal.
Big deal. Tremendous deal. The best deal. Many people are saying a Yemeni guy came up to me, strong guy, tall guy, tears in his eyes. He said, sir, Yemen, it's not Yemen anymore. It's more like Oman. And I was like, Oman. He goes, no, Yemen. All right. That's bad.
That's bad.
So the Harry S. Truman is out there with its airplanes, and the F-18s are on there. And there was an F-18 that was coming back from doing what it was doing. Again, check your text messages. I'm sure SecDef sent you something about it. And when airplanes land on aircraft carriers, it's not like a long runway, right? And fighter jets in particular are going pretty fast. Even when they're going their slowest, they're going very, very fast. They've got short little stubby wings. They cannot go slow speed. They just go fast. And so to land, they have these arrestor hooks. It's like a little hook that sticks out the bottom of them. And there's these wires that go across the arrestor cables that they attempt to catch with the hook, and it stops them dead on the deck. And if you ever really get to see one of these things land, it looks like a crash. Basically, it comes flying in like an airplane, and then instead of hitting and going like this, it just goes boom, and it just smacks the deck, right? And the arrestor grabs it, and the pilots go, ugh! and then they, then the guy comes out, and Kenny Loggins starts singing "Danger Zone," and then that's how it works. There's always Kenny Loggins. That's just a rule in the Navy. And it didn't work this time. Now, to hedge against this, right, because it sometimes doesn't work, as pilots are hitting the deck, they rev up the engine to maximum in case the arrestor doesn't grab, and they can just take off and basically try again.
Right.
And they practice that. Well, this time, it didn't work, and they didn't take right off, and they went off the end of the aircraft carrier. And the pilots ejected, and there's two of them in the Super Hornets, and they jumped out, and the $67 million F-18 went blink into the water like Tez at a golf course.
Yep, exactly.
And you're like, oh, well, that's terrible, and then you're like, I bet that doesn't happen very often, right?
Yeah. And then
you find out, well, it does on this boat. Ship. Sorry, they get bent out of shape about it. Boats are
man, this thing has been demoted to a boat. Can't even.
Okay, well, don't say that to the Navy.
Joking.
Those guys get real flipping crazy. Ships are on the surface, boats are underwater. That's their rule about I don't know. They're all boats.
Right? What?
So the
Is
other
a paddle boat is ship?
Yeah, by Navy rules, I think. I don't know. I got a serious talking to by several naval officers about that one time.
You know what? Don't want the smoke.
Yeah, that's why they have nuclear now.
Nah.
All right, so yeah, the last time they lost an F-18 was because it was just on the back of the ship and it turned too fast and it just like flipped off the back like it wasn't tied down. I don't know why they forgot to tie down their giant airplane, but yeah. A third fighter was shot down accidentally over the Red Sea by another Navy warship. The Gettysburg of all things.
Oh God! Of course.
Yeah.
Gettysburg. The Gettysburg plane shot down by another American plane.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of crazy. I mean, like, the Houthis don't have to do anything. Why are they shooting? Why are they wasting their missiles?
Yeah, we're the vaunted naval aviation is not looking great.
Who has been fired? Okay, I don't know why. This is the presidency of a person who is known for firing people.
Well, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has twice extended the aircraft carrier's deployment since it left its home in Virginia last September.
Maybe they're tired. That's maybe they.
Yes.
Maybe
most
tired.
recently last week.
We probably need to bring those boys home.
I think so.
Good rest, you know.
Where's Tom Cruise?
Nah, he'd land that motherfucker.
You goddamn right. The best naval aviator in history. Maverick.
Yeah, save the movies, I think, or Trump's gonna kill him. And anyways.
Okay. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take one more break before we come back with the fourth half of the show. And we're going to play a particular song for this break because it is relevant to the story that we're going to come back with afterwards. There's two stories after that.
All right.
Okay. So we're going to take a break. You're listening to Chip Chat on Beltway Radio and beyond.
Sweet.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there.
People of Springfield, please don't eat my cats. Why would you do that? Eat something else. People of Springfield, please don't eat my dog. Here's a catalog of other things to eat.
They're eating the dogs.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
They're eating the cats.
Meow, 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 meow.
They're eating the pets of the people that live there. They're eating the dogs.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
They're eating the cats.
Meow, 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 meow.
They're eating the pets of the people that live there. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. They're eating the dogs.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
They're eating the cats.
Meow, 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 meow.
They're eating the pets of the people that live there. They're eating the dogs.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
They're eating the cats.
Meow, 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 meow.
They're eating the pets of the people that live there. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country.
All right, welcome back to Chip Chat here on Beltway Radio and beyond. I'm your host, Chip. With me is Tez.
I can't believe that one.
I can't believe it either. It is.
I remember watching that live and clearly being like, well, no, guys, all right, this is, what are we doing? clearly this isn't. Because you've been trying to get it in too. We were waiting when that story had broke. What, that 2 days prior, maybe 3 days? And it was like he weaved it in. It was insane how he weaved that in.
Well, because we all knew that it was out there in the ether, and it was like, is he going to mention it or not? And like, what do the moderators or does Harris have to say to trigger him to do this? And is he going to be dumb enough to take it? And I mean, that debate was utterly disastrous for Trump, and
it was very bad.
And he won. Like, I remember watching him do that and thinking, "Oh, this is over."
Yes, same.
And it's not. It's bad.
No, that is where my hope was. Where I had the most hope, because I was like, "Well, this is insane." Like, what are you doing? No. He was flustered. He was doing all this. He said, "They're eating the dog."
he was so mad that like people, that the moderators wouldn't accept that as true. He was they're eating the dogs. The dogs.
Which I guess is alarming if you really believe that, right? That is a very scary.
Yeah, if you thought that was really happening, you'd be like freaking out.
Didn't he also? Is that the same one we talked about, the transgender mice?
No.
What was that? Where was that?
That was in his joint address to Congress.
Oh God, sorry, it's blending together. Sorry, that's what.
Yeah, the mice he was talking about were transgenic, and specifically, I think the story that he had found out about was that the scientists had edited the gene in the mice with the gene from a woolly mammoth to make the mice grow fluff like a mammoth. So they were like particularly woolly, fluffy mice, which is kind of cute, actually, if you look them up. And that's transgenic. They had different genes, and I'm not sure what a transgender mouse would be, but like also like why anybody would care, like what are you doing with the mice that it matters what gender they are?
They can't even use our bathrooms.
Yeah. Well, not with that attitude, they can't. Don't let them in. They're gonna use the wrong bathroom. All right. So anyway, this story, this segment is called Stupid News. Now, when at the time we wrote the Stupid News, this first story was about how this guy, Ed Martin, who is the interim U.S. attorney for the District of Columbia, was probably not going to get confirmed because he kept doing podcasts with Nazis.
Yeah.
Real ones, like real Nazis. And so like Tom Tillis, who's in a tough re-election fight there in North Carolina, and some other Republican senators are like, I don't think I want to vote for this guy. The story now is that Trump has yanked his nomination and instead nominated Jeanine Pirro.
It gets better.
Who is like, red wine sales have spiked. There is no chance that if you want a glass of Merlot in this city anymore, you will never get it. Jeanine has cornered the market on all of that. And shout out, like we said, I think we maybe said earlier, shout out to Cecily Strong. She's going to make a bank on this, and she deserves it. So we can skip that story because it's not relevant anymore.
Nope.
But the reason we played the song about the people of Springfield, Tez, do you want to read this story?
Yeah, I'll read this story. So
now this comes from Springfield, Ohio, which is the Springfield that Trump was referencing, where he thought people were eating dogs and cats.
I saw the video of this first part. All right,
I saw the video too.
Insane.
It's tremendous.
Yeah. Police in Springfield Township had a more than interesting animal encounter this week when they crossed paths with a raccoon holding a meth pipe to its mouth.
Yep.
According to the greatest news agency Facebook post from the department, on the evening of May 5th, officers pulled over a vehicle whose owner had an active warrant and a suspended driver's license. The driver, 55-year-old Victoria Vidal of Akron, was detained. But when an officer walked back to Vidal's vehicle, a raccoon named Chewy, that's a good name, was sitting in the driver's seat with a meth pipe in its mouth. You just really love to take Ohio out. That's why this story, I'm sure you were just salivating once you saw this story. Chewy, quote, let me quote this right here. Quote, Chewy had somehow gotten a hold of a glass methamphetamine pipe, leading officers to further inspect the vehicle, the post from the department said. A search of the vehicle turned up crack cocaine, meth, and 3 used glass meth pipes. Quote, thankfully, Chewy the raccoon was unharmed, and notification was made to the proper authorities to determine that she had the proper paperwork and documentation to own the raccoon, the post continued. Vidal is facing several drug charges and was cited for driving under suspension. Quote, while our officers are trained to expect the unexpected, finding a raccoon holding a meth pipe is a first. No raccoons were hurt or injured in this incident, and as always, we remain committed to keeping our community safe, no matter what surprises may come our way. It is legal to own a raccoon in the state of Ohio, of course it is, with proper paperwork and permits. To learn more about what exotic pets you can own in Ohio, that's funny that's in the story. Click here. You can find out what you can own in Ohio from the story.
Apparently you can own couches.
Oh, yeah. Do other things with them.
So the video is really maybe some of the best body cam footage I've ever seen. Like,
yeah, it's crazy.
The cop kind of like pulls her out of the car. You know, he's like, come with me. You know, we have, you know, you're under suspension, whatever. And then he just sort of like walks back over to it.
And the raccoon is in the front. The raccoon is in the driver's seat, I feel like, right?
Sitting in the driver's seat. Now, the car is full of stuff and trash and whatever. Yeah. And the raccoon is sitting there, and the cop is like, oh, he's got a meth pipe. and he goes to like take it away from him. And I guess the driver's friend or somebody comes over and is like, here, I'll get it from him. You know, he might bite you. And he goes, no, you won't. That's evidence. You can't touch it. And he's laughing the whole time. And he's like, come here. And he takes the pipe, right? And he puts it on top of the car. And then he looks back and then he goes, he's got another one. And the raccoon had another meth pipe. And then the cop, he goes, he's trying to smoke it. And the cop is laughing. He can barely contain himself. And he's like, no, little guy, come here. And he takes it. And the raccoon's just like, here you go. And he just takes it from him. And he's like, you can't have that. And the raccoon's like, okay.
I'm just saying, from the people who made, what was it? Cocaine Bear? Wasn't that the big movie?
Yes.
We got Meth Coon coming soon.
Who stars in that?
Oh God, I just who does? God, I don't know. I know. Let me be quiet. I don't have anything to say. I don't have anything to say that one. I've already said too much.
Meth Coon starring the Dave Chappelle crackhead character.
Right. I mean that
Tyrone what was his name?
Yes, Tyrone Biggums.
Yeah.
No, they're not No, we know where the hell we're casting from that. West Virginia. We'll find someone.
Yeah, but if it's the Meth Coon, it can't be like, yeah. I don't know.
We'll see.
You know who would knock that out of the park would be like Leo. Not the Pope. The one that likes the kids. Wait, no. How do you tell them apart?
Oh God.
Shit.
Wow. Maybe we should end this.
Yeah, we should end this. But we do need to, speaking of sexual deviance, not just DiCaprio.
Oh, God.
There's Brian, we need to ask you about this thing. Your beloved Ravens released noted rapist Justin Tucker.
Hold on. Can I get the quote of the release? This is insane.
Go ahead. Read the quote.
statement.
We don't care how good this guy is at kicking. He's got to go.
Is this it? Oh no, these are the allegations. 1 second. A filibuster on NFL.com. Do you have it? Oh, here it is. Insane. All right. This comes from the great organization, to be honest, the Baltimore Ravens, who've usually done things, right outside of when it comes to these domestic violence and
people named Ray don't do well on the Ravens.
Yeah. All right. Here we go. Sometimes football decisions are incredibly difficult, and this is one of those instances.
What?
Considering our current roster, we have made the tough decision to release Justin Tucker. Justin created many significant and unforgettable moments in Raven history. His reliability, focus, drive, resilience, and extraordinary talent made him one of the league's best kickers for over a decade. We are grateful for Justin's many contributions while playing for the Ravens. We sincerely wish him and his family the very best in this next chapter of their lives. It is insane that they, first of all, said that they were releasing him a football decision, number one, because, okay, just don't say that. Just say you're releasing him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sorry. Let me let the rest. That statement stood out to me when I first read it, and I was like, "Oh wow, y'all really don't do this well."
That's insane.
Just
to be clear, what he's charged or like the allegations.
He's the new nasty man.
Yeah, is that
well, not new,
like
but,
the Deshaun Watson move essentially?
Yeah,
and that they're like, this was a difficult decision. That's not usually a set of words you hear around people who are accused of sexual misconduct.
It's a release for a release.
Oh, so Brian, as the devoted fan you are, and I assume fan of Justin Tucker, not just for his kicking, but also for his opera and skills and his endeavors, let's call it. What do you think of this whole scenario?
Once the Ravens drafted a kicker, I knew his time was up. So I felt like it was, mind you, I know Tess, you would laugh at the statement, but when I read the statement, I felt like, because mind you, the investigation was still going on, so there is no NFL final decision on everything. So, but I believe that based off of that statement, especially in the last couple of years, Justin Tucker hasn't really been the same. And I just felt like, it was, like I said, once they drafted Loop, I was like, yeah, okay. I think they're going to, I knew they were going to release him. So
do you think that the allegations are not true, or even if they are, they're not like a big deal, or what, how do you feel about that?
I mean, I was surprised. I mean, as a person who's embraced the community like he has, I mean, just in a weird way, I mean, I don't want to go compare him to, Jared, the Subway guy. But in a way, he was like, I will give you sort of like a proper comparison based off of how his appearance looked in the last, especially since these allegations came up. I'm reminded of, if you remember the mayor of College Park who got convicted for child pornography and stuff like that. I work with the College Park City Council, and like months prior, before the allegations came out, he was clean cut, everything was looking fine and all that stuff. And then I don't know, before I even heard about the allegations, like one session I see him like the beard. I mean, he got like a 10-hour clock shadow type of thing. Damn. He was just ragged. And that's what Justin Tucker looked like. He looked like he was going through some stuff, and that's where he was like missing all these kicks and all that stuff. It was like, what was wrong with this dude? And I've had these conversations with with football people, and they keep looking at it, it's like, oh man, what's up with Tucker? What's going on? And it's like, he just needs to get out of his head. Whatever is going on with him, he needs to
he needed to do something with one of his heads.
Well, like, not that again. I know you're going to go there, but but honestly, it was like he just needs to kick and just focus on that. And the last few games towards the end of the season, he did. But kick the habit.
Do you think that part of what made him such a steady kicker and like so automatic for all those years was the let's call them releases that he was getting?
I don't know.
Because maybe once he got caught and he had to stop going there or doing that
again, I don't know.
I look at.
I mean, it's
Deshaun,
like
but I look at Deshaun. I mean, I know he was out on injury. I look at Tiger Woods. There's a lot of these people who I don't know. So very.
But the thing is, it's like we hear the allegations, but we never hear the person who's being allegated by. So, and Justin, he's clearly says like these are all false. He's all basically, false. Mind you. Again, it's the PR move to say I'm innocent. I'm going to prove my innocence. Blah 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 blah. I get that.
Right. They all can't be lying.
So, but here I just felt like for what the Ravens done, they've done this before. With the Ray Rice situation. I think here is like, look, it was hard because again, Justin Tucker. Everyone loves Justin Tucker.
Here's how
he seems like a cool dude, and it's like he's the type of guy you can bring to a black couple's barbecue. I mean, he's just a cool dude.
Can't come
and you see a ton
can't come
of
anywhere with me. Hope.
True.
I mean, it's if you just go by like what kind of jerseys you see people wearing, right? It's a very common people. It's like Lamar and Tucker and like the old school.
If you go by the number, the dollar numbers of jerseys sold, Raven jerseys sold, he's roughly like top 3.
Yeah,
because he's that's who he is. I mean, he's
been there a long time, but I mean he won us
a Super Bowl. I mean, literally, thanks to him and his kick. I mean, he's beaten the Detroit Lions twice with long 50+ yard kicks.
Why couldn't he just continue to beat stuff instead of by himself?
Why did he have to keep leaving some of it out on the field?
Lord.
This is clear in all of these ones, and I know these are allegations and nothing's been proven. So, there's a few things right here. One, I think this is a power thing that all these
for sure
end up doing. And exercising their power on people who are really helpless in those situations. And again, if it was one allegation, then that's fine. I forgot where we're at. I know we're somewhere above 10, I want to say.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot, yeah. So at that point, I just don't get like in the court of public opinion, no matter what, like, I don't think all 10 of those people are going to go out there and say that if it did not happen. I think the Ravens easily could have, and this is the tell for the Ravens, right? I haven't seen any tribute video come out. I've been watching for that.
From
the Ravens.
Lamar retweeted saying like he'll miss him. But yeah, they
didn't put anything out.
There was just a simple, thank you and.
They could have said relief first, because also too. Let's be honest. I know he's a great kicker, but he's a kicker. All right. He doesn't even get hit. Like he's not even.
But here's mind you. Okay, this is why you don't watch a lot of Ravens football, and you've been supporting a bad team for the last 20 years. Justin Tucker doesn't. He gets into things, and not to what you're thinking. meaning the fact is like this boy can go in there. And if he needs to tackle the punt returner or a kick returner,
defending the kickers on football has changed for me. Wow, maybe I have been gone for too long because I don't know when we started just getting loving the
talking about how tough kickers are.
Yeah. What the hell is going on?
Yeah, Justin.
Insane.
Justin Tucker. He is. I mean, sadly enough, there's not a lot of Hall of Fame kickers. Even though we say, he's Hall of Fame quality. there's a lot of kickers that we've known through the years that should be in the Hall of Fame by now. They're not.
If he wasn't a creeper, Tucker's a shoo-in for the Hall of Fame.
He has the NFL record for the longest field goal.
Yeah, until these allegations came out, I think most people I knew talked about him as the greatest ever. They said that he was better even than Vinatieri or Grammatica or that era. That he was he had the longest streak, right, of consecutive field goals. Long one too.
Oh Lord.
and like he was leaving those streaks all over. And
sick, man. It's sick. I'm just saying he's sick. And Baltimore Sun has done a lot of great reporting on this. I feel like, this story when I first read it, I was like, oh, this is like, and it's like one of those clear things. Oh, yuck. But it's clear as day that
green and clear. Which one you gonna use?
It's because based on what he does, right? Massages and what he has being the kicker, not really crazy, right?
Right.
Like that's like the idea of him needing those,
the idea that these athletes need to get massages is totally reasonable. That is
reasonable, yeah. But that's kind of like your like thing on the side is just downright fucking disgusting. Like I think for him, Deshaun, all of these people, they're nasty, just a bunch of nasty men.
It's weird too because it's
weird.
If you think about it from an athletic perspective, right? Like the trainers that they have, when you see them running out on the field, like the trainers checking them out, bending the, does your arm hurt when we do this or whatever? Like there's nothing personal about it. It looks very mechanical. Like it's like bringing your car to the mechanic, right? The mechanic isn't cuddling the car while it checks the caliper on the brakes. It's like the mechanic, he's just there to like do a job and get that thing operating as best as possible. If what you need is like massage therapy for a muscle that is having trouble or twitching or whatever, that I think that's why those Theraguns exist, right? Like the people who were doing the massage,
and these people are professionals. They're
professionals. I mean, you're going to a professional, and like I said,
if I was at that level, I wouldn't want to go to a place where they like set the mood and have feelings. I would want to go to a place that is sterile and clinical to like get the muscle working. And then get out of there because I need to go back to training.
Right. Which again, I that's why I feel like we need clear answers. I mean, I know the court of public opinion does not help in this whatsoever, but I feel like without proper answers, I mean, it's all we hear is like we have allegations. Okay. The person who's being allegated is saying he never did it. And it's like, okay, then we wait. And I'm kind of like, okay. And we're going to over speculate of what the hell happened in there. Mind you, I do agree to the fact of what you're saying. It's like you're supposedly going to a professional setting and then somehow this happens. I mean, at what point in time did it's like,
let's keep it a stack here. If it's a professional setting, why the hell is your meat getting hard there?
Right.
Surprisingly, you don't think about it. Mind you, I've never been to any of this, but a lot of there is that overt stimulation that causes that.
Let's say that.
I mean,
you know what? Apologies on that. Let's just again. I apologize that is happening. Let's stop for a second. I don't know.
I guarantee it's never happened to me at the doctor. That's
right. Because exactly right. It's just like, oh God. Stay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Tez is right that it's a power thing.
I don't really. Yeah. Doesn't. Yeah.
I mean, I don't like other people touching me. That's
the other piece as well.
So if I was doing it anyway, like it would be to get something fixed. I have had to do PT for various injuries, but it hasn't been like that extensive. And I let them stretch me where they had to stretch me or whatever. And then I was like, all right, give me the exercises. I can go home and do this. Like, I didn't want to like do
that,
more of
you
that.
have to, like, again, because that setting, even in like, I guess a regular massage, like if it was less clinical and more, right, like for soothing, and it's still like kind of like,
it's creepy. Yeah, it's
not actually, unless you like that type of stuff.
Yeah, but my thing is it's like I feel like, why have a woman masseuse? Why not get a male masseuse to do?
Great point.
That?
Yeah,
great
I
point.
mean, because honestly, that I think, you know, after these two instances, you know, I feel like it may come a point in time where I think it's like, if you are a professional athlete, just athlete, and you're going to have these physical therapy sessions, and especially that, you know, in connection to massage and stuff like that, I think they were going to enforce the fact is like, it has to be a male masseuse to do that from this point on.
Or maybe it should be mechanical. You know, maybe there shouldn't be any physical contact between.
This is so crazy. This is because we can't trust men to just be.
Yeah.
This is insane. We have to now change this. That is crazy. That people can't make a living because this nasty ass motherfuckers out here.
Imagine going to school and learning all of the things that you need to learn to become a massage therapist, and especially like you know, that level of one, learning everything about the way human physiology and how the muscles and tendons and everything connects, so that you can be the most effective to deliver the kind of, you know, treatment that people need, and all of that. And then somebody's like, hey, look at my dick. Like,
crazy. It's
what?
Crazy. It's
and the sad part about all this, the years that was going on, he was married. That really threw me. That threw me a big way. Because it's like, dude, your wife is beautiful. What the hell are you doing? I just don't understand.
Again, weird kink, man. That's in some, and like people ain't there, and also too, ain't there like those type of massage places?
Yeah, there are.
Illegal, unfortunately. That's the thing. That's the one thing.
Why didn't you talk to Kraft? Isn't that what Kraft went?
Yeah, Kraft. Well, Kraft got more
if
money.
He was on the Patriots, it would have been part of the payroll.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but anywho, like I said, it's sad to see him go, and I hope,
you know, you're the most Ravens person I know, and
it's not sad
I have doors to prove it.
Get his nasty ass out of here.
Right.
Get his ass out of here.
Go tucker it away somewhere.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, sorry.
Come now.
Oh. All right. I'm not gonna try to top that. That's no, not touching that with an 8-inch pole. All right, you hear the music, which means we've come to the end of the show. We want to say thank you to our radio partners, Spotify, Google, Amazon, all the other billionaires. Why not? I might be the Pope by next week. You don't know.
You don't know. So
stay tuned for that. Thanks to NOTN for keeping us on for another week. Maybe. Don't know. Thanks to our home on the interwebs, coplaymedia.com. And thanks, as always, to our family here at Beltway Radio for making us sound as smooth as the Orioles starting rotation. Yeah.
Sorry.
All right. Where can everybody get you on the socials?
You can find me on Blue Sky, which my shirt kind of looks like that, at DC Cortez.
There you go. And you can find me on the Twitter with the show at ChipChatRR. You can find us on Facebook or Instagram at RipChipChat. And you can, of course, find me on Blue Sky at Chef Chip. And you can find us every Thursday night here on Beltway Radio and Beyond at 9:30. I'm Chip. That's Tez. That was Brian. You're listening to Chip Chat on Beltway Radio and Beyond.
Sweet.
Street balls.
Chip Chat Radio. We got so much, so give you the news in case you didn't know. Keep the public well informed of the topic. yesterday is hard to process. That's why Chip and Tess